This is a continuation of Chapter 2, Linear Relations and Functions. This is Part 2 of 2, going back to Example 1. From Section 2-1, it says to find the domain and range, and is it a function? So if we look, f of x is the ordered pairs 2, 4, 3, 7, 1, 0, and 1, negative 1. So the first thing we need to do is find the domain and range. Do you remember what domain is? Domain is the x values. So we're going to list our x values. Normally your book lists them in order. You don't have to do that, and you do need to make sure you don't repeat any. So if any of these repeat, just write it once. So the domain again is the x values. I'm just going to write them in the order that we see them. 2, 3, 1, and again, don't write the 1 twice. So 2, 3, and 1. The range. What is the range? The y values. So again, I'm going to go in order of how I see them. 4, 7, 0, and negative 1. Your book will probably put these in order. You do not have to do that. So we found domain and range. The next question is it a function? You have a lot of options here. Because they gave it to you in this format with the x and y, all you need to do is go back to the directions from before. Are there any x's that repeat? Yes, if you look, the 1 happened twice. So because that happened, it is not a function. You can say no because of the way the question was asked, or you can just say not a function. Number 2. So number 2, evaluate f of x equals 2x squared minus 8. This says f of x because multiplication means of. They want us to find f of 6. If you look at this problem, instead of an x, they have a 6. So instead of an x, you're going to put a 6. So the fancy term for that is called substitution. So we rewrite the problem, 2x squared minus 8. Instead of x, you put 6. So we need to follow the order of operations, which is PEMDAS. Technically, there are no real parentheses here. However, we do have exponents. So 2 times, what is 6 squared? 36 minus 8. And again, order of operations, 2 times 36 is 72 minus 8. Feel free to use your calculator if you need to. 72 minus 8 is 64. So our final answer is 64. Number 3, same thing. F of x is 2x cubed plus 3x minus 1. Find f of negative 2y. You go ahead and try this problem first, and then I'll do it for you. So you should hit the pause button. I'm going to go ahead and do the problem now. Again, substitution. 2x cubed plus 3x minus 1. Instead of an x, you're going to put negative 2y. Again, order of operations says exponents come first. You need to try to use your calculator when you get to these types of problems. Negative 2 cubed, if you take your time, negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4, times another negative 2 is going to be negative 8. So negative 2 cubed is negative 8. Y cubed is y cubed. And then we can go ahead and multiply these out. That's going to be negative 6y minus 1. So 2 times negative 8y cubed is negative 16y cubed minus 6y minus 1. That's all you can do to this problem. You can't combine anything. None of these are like terms. Unless these are the same letters to the same exponents, they cannot be added or subtracted together. So this is your final answer. For section 2-2, we're going to do one question for right now. Tomorrow we will finish this section up. So for right now, number 1, find the x and y intercepts and graph. The problem is 2x plus 3y minus 8 is equal to 0. You need to think back to how we find an x and y intercept. If you go back through your notes, to find x, you set y to 0. To find y, you set x to 0. So we're going to use substitution again. To find the x, you set y equal to 0, and you solve it. So again, order of operations, 2x plus 0 minus 8 equals 0. So 2x minus 8 equals 0. You need to add 8 to both sides. This is stuff you should already know. So 2x equals 8. What's in the way of the 2 being alone? Sorry, what's in the way of the x being alone? The 2. It's multiplying, so you need to divide. If you do it to one side, you do it to the other. So our x-intercept here is 4. So you need to go on your x-axis, which is this one, to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The positive x-axis, 4. Put a dot. Now, we need to find our y-intercept. To find y, you set x to 0. So I'm going to start all over. It's the same process, just substituting instead of the y being 0, this time it's the x value. So 2 times 0 plus 3y minus 8 equals 0. Again, order of operations, 2 times 0 is 0, plus 3y minus 8. Everything else just comes down. So 0 plus anything you don't really need to worry about. It's just 3y minus 8 equals 0. What do you do to both sides? Plus 8 plus 8. That does go away. It eliminates. So 3y equals 8. What is in the way of y being alone? The 3. What's it doing to y? Multiplying. So what do? Divide. You need to divide by 3 in order to get y alone. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. As long as that is reduced, the answer of 8 over 3 is fine. However, if we have to graph 8 over 3, you may not know where that is. So why don't you use your calculator and take 8 divided by 3, and you're going to get the decimal 2.6 repeating. So on the y-axis, I need to go to the positive 2.6 and estimate. 1, 2, a little bit farther than halfway. So I have my x-intercept and my y-intercept. So I'm going to go back and make sure I answered the question. My x, again, since I erased it, is 4. And my y, I'm going to leave the improper fraction, since that's the most accurate answer, is 8 over 3. You only need 2 ordered pairs to make a line. So since you have 2 ordered pairs, connect your dots as best as you can, and that's our line. Now we're on section 2-3, slope. You need to memorize these. We're going to do them together, but you need to memorize them. It's going to make your life a lot easier. So with slope, you already had the slope formula from before. However, we need to see which of these is a positive slope, a negative slope, an undefined slope, and a 0 slope. So take a minute and see if you can figure that out. If a line is slanted in this direction, it is always a positive slope. Therefore, if a line is slanted in this direction, it is a negative slope. These two get confusing for people, so let's go ahead and take a second and evaluate these examples. This is at an x equals or a y equals line. I'm not asking if it's the axis. This is the x-axis, and this is the y-axis. So something that you need to memorize is this would be the line x equals something. So for example, this looks like it's at maybe 2, so this would be x equals 2. Because of that, you could pick 2 ordered pairs on this line and use your slope formula to figure out that it's going to be an undefined slope. Undefined, if you ever need to know, is number over 0. The way I remember it is 0's under the fraction bar, so it's undefined. Your calculator will do that for you. Right now, take your calculator out and take, for example, 2 divided by 0. Your calculator will probably give you error or syntax error, so that lets you know it's undefined. This line is going to be y equals some number. For this particular problem, maybe y equals 2 or something like that. So again, if you really have to, you can pick 2 ordered pairs on this line, plug it into your slope formula and get the answer. However, if you memorize it, it's a lot quicker. This is going to be a 0, or sometimes your book refers to it as a no slope. So again, mathematically, you're going to get 0 over a number. So take your calculator and take 0 divided by 2, and it will give you 0. So again, this is super important. You need to try to memorize it. It will make things a lot easier and a lot quicker for you. Okay, number 1 on an example for this. Find the slope of the ordered pairs -4, 3, and 2, 5. You're welcome to graph these on a number line and count if you'd like to. However, the slope formula might be a little bit quicker because they gave it to us as ordered pairs first. So go back to your slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. When you do this, it doesn't matter which one you call x1, y1, which one you call x2, y2. However, you have to be consistent. Usually the first one that I see I call x1. This is your x value, this is your y value. So this is x1 and this is y1. That would make this one x2 and y2. If you ever flip-flop them, you should still get the right answer if you're careful. So on my problem, y2 is 5 minus y1 is 3 over x2 is 2 minus x1 is -4. From here, you just do the math. You can use your calculator if you need to, but be careful. So 5 minus 3 is obviously 2. And 2 minus a -4. If you need to, keep it, change it, add the opposite, whatever makes sense to you. But 2 negatives make a positive, or use your calculator, and you get 6. In this class, you always reduce fractions. Your final answer here is 1/3. For our last example, if you can go to page 78 in your book, we need to look at example 4 together. The reason I'd like you to look in your book is because this one is already graphed, so I would like for you to learn how to count instead of having to do the formula all the time. So again, page 78 in your book, number 4. If you look at that with me, you are able to count from the ordered pairs. So if you look at your book again, I'm sorry I can't draw it, it's much more perfect in your book. One of the ordered pairs that I see is -2, 0. So I'm going to go ahead and write that one down just so you know what I'm saying. And another ordered pair that's very easy to tell is 0 and -3. So I'm going to try to draw a rough sketch on here. There's -2, 0, and there's 0, -3. Sorry, this is really hard to do. Anyway, what you can do is you can count rise over run. So instead of doing the slope formula like we did on the page before, you can rise over run. So from here to here, or from here to here, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and rise 1, 2, 3. So I rose 3. It was positive because I went up. And then I'm going to run 1, 2, but I went to the left. So I went up and left, which is going to be a negative slope. Normally, you try to keep the negative on top. It's just easier that way. Some calculators won't work with it in the denominator. So -3/2 is the slope of number 4 on page 78 in your book. Again, you can use the slope formula if you'd like, or you can start from here. If you count, we went down 1, 2, 3, which would be a -3, and right 2. So either way, you're going to get the same answer. Let's go ahead and look at 4a and 4b on the same page. Look at 4a. Now understand that 4a goes by 2's, so you have to be very careful. I'd like you to try 4a and 4b without me. Okay, on 4a, if you count, you should get 3 over 8. On 4b, again, I chose to count, you should get -4. You might have put -4 over 1. However, we always want to reduce. -4 over 1 is just -4. You need to make sure that you do that. If you have any questions or need any help, please make sure you take the time to write it down on your notes and ask in class tomorrow or Bruin time. So again, here are the notes for now. We'll finish this up tomorrow. We kind of split sections 2-1 to 2-4 into 2 days because it's all really interrelated. Again, if you have any questions, please ask.